Continuing to follow this breaking news for you closer, the FAA grounding all departing flights in the U.S. until at least 9 as of right now because of a computer outage.
Yeah, it has to do with their NOTAM system. That's their Notice to Air Missions system. If you're like us, you've never heard of it before until about an hour or two ago. So joining us for more information and context, happily to have on the phone here, John DeCarlo, a University of New Haven professor in the master's program in criminal justice, but he's also a commercial pilot. Mr. DeCarlo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yes, and thank you for giving us a quick primer on what the NOTAM system is and what it's used for. Can we start there?
Yeah, we sure could. So it's a very old system that started as far back as in the 1940s. It was called the Notices to Airmen system, and the name has been changed in the last few years. And it's modeled after the Notice to Mariners system. It's something that we use as part of the flight briefing before we take off. It informs us of any hazards that we have to be concerned with: air traffic control, service centers, security, operations for airports, and things that might affect the safety or operation of a flight.
Al, can you tell us a little bit more about what type of hazards we're talking about? There are a lot of travelers frustrated, more than 3,000 flights not taking off right now. But if you could put into perspective for our viewers who may actually be watching at the airport right now, if these flights were not grounded, how detrimental would this be?
Well, you'd be basically flying without a system that was put in place to tell us about outages of air traffic control, outages of DOD operations, for instance, outages of cranes in the area of runways. Literally everything. It's the news station of the skies. It literally tells us everything that's happening across the country, locally and far away from where we're taking off, to have to do with cratered runways, to radio problems, to GPS problems. So it concerns almost every aspect of the operation of flight and what pilots need to know to carry out that flight safely.
So it looks like the FAA is making a distinction. Any flights that are in the air right now are being allowed to go wherever they need to go. They're just stopping new flights from taking off. Do you agree with that distinction? It sounds like, if there's a crater on a runway that all of a sudden develops, that's a big, big problem for a flight that's in the air.
Sure. The flights that have already taken off, that are in the air currently, already had the briefing. It would be new things that would be given in the flight briefings and NOTAMs going forward. So the flights that are in the air have already had their flight briefings, have already received the NOTAMs, and I'm assuming that they cannot send new NOTAMs to pilots taking off or aircraft taking off going forward. And I'm sure that they'll have this fixed in a short order. One of the FAA's primary missions is safety, and the 121 operators or scheduled airlines have an incredibly safe environment for passengers to travel in. And this is one of the reasons why. It's because safety, they're focused so heavily on safety and not letting airlines or pilots take chances when they're in the air or before they get into the air. So in effect, this is for every air traveler's safety and lets them travel knowing that the pilot who is in command of the aircraft knows what they need to know to carry out the flight as safely as possible for the passengers.
Now, this grounding is significant. Have we seen a grounding of this level since 9/11? I think we've been trying to think back.
I don't know. I can't recall something of this magnitude, but that doesn't mean that something hasn't happened in the past that mirrors this.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're in unprecedented territory for at least the next half hour. Mr. DeCarlo, thank you so much for taking the time to just give us a little bit of schooling on what's exactly going on here. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, and have a great morning.
And you too as well.